Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going through California's weirdest and longest prison sentences ever. We've got a lot to show you, so let's get to it at once. The pen is mightier than prison. In 2012, Otis Mobley Jr. tried to rob a man under the pretext of selling a grenade launcher. What he didn't know, though, was that the man he was trying to rob was an undercover Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives agent. Mobley and his crew ended up getting arrested and charged for assault, robbery, and conspiracy. But federal judge Yvonne Gonzalez Rogers decided that she'd release Mobley on bond pending his trial on one condition. Mobley would have to read books, probably Critique of Pure Reason by Kant and War and Peace. Then he would have to write a book report on the books he had read. This judgment was, however, overruled by the 9th District Court of Appeals, as Mobley was considered a threat to society considering his history of crime and poor court attendance. Beauty and the Beast. Philip Garrido and his wife Nancy Garrido were a married duo of abductors, their most popular abduction being that of J.C. Lee Dugard. Philip Garrido was the primary arrestee in this case, though, and he had a history of sexual assault and abduction that did not go to trial for several reasons before the kidnap of Dugard. Garrido and his wife lured and abducted J.C. Lee Dugard in 1991, and over the course of 18 years, abused and raped her continuously, which led to the birth of her two daughters, who were about 11 and 15 years old when she reappeared. On April 28, 2011, Garrido and his wife finally pleaded guilty to kidnapping and assaulting Dugard. And on June 2, 2011, Garrido was sentenced to 431 years in prison for his crimes. Pick on someone your own age. In San Francisco, a judge sentenced a 51-year-old man by the name Dwayne Whitaker to almost 500 years in prison for attacking the elderly. Whitaker had a habit of robbing and attacking a total of 4 victims in the San Francisco neighborhood of Nob Hill. Of the 4 victims he robbed and attacked, 3 were over 65 years old, while the 4th was 55 years old. Whitaker would usually spring upon his victims on their way back from grocery shopping and attack them, also robbing them blind in the process. His disgusting act of preying on the defenseless earned him a sentence of 439 years in prison, where he will never be able to hurt anyone, much less the old and defenseless, ever again. 755 years for child pornography and sexual battery? Sounds about right. Concord man Daryl Wayne Delp was charged with sexual battery and producing child pornography. At the time of his arrest, Delp had over 5,000 images of underage girls on a laptop and 3 memory cards. The photos showed about 9 different girls, all of whom were naked in all the photos, and some of whom were younger than 10 at the time they were photographed. The photos, though, were mostly of his wife's daughters, who started living with him when he started dating their mother. In addition to abusing his stepdaughters, Delp also threatened to hurt them or hurt himself if they ever spoke up. But one day, one of the sisters spoke up to a family friend, which was how Delp got arrested. He was sentenced to 755 years in prison for his crimes. The NorCal rapist gets it. He was born Ray Charles Waller, but got nicknamed the NorCal Rapist for a long career as a serial rapist. When he was arrested, he was suspected to have committed a series of over 10 rapes and kidnappings in not one, but about 6 Northern California counties, hence the nickname. But by the time the police finished their investigation, they found out that he had actually been involved in dozens of rape cases in 5 different counties, including Contra Costa, Sonoma, Butte, Solano, and Yolo. Waller probably never saw what was coming for him, as he was happily married and was even working at the University of California, Berkeley as a safety specialist at the time of his arrest. One can't help but see the ridiculous irony in a serial rapist working as a safety specialist. Thankfully, he was convicted in November of 2020 and sentenced to 897 years in prison for his crimes. Now, the only safety he's going to be specializing in is the safety of his prison cell. 3 strikes, and you get jail for a millennium. Okay, this one seems somewhat extreme-ish. Yeah, armed robbery is a truly terrible crime, and committing it many times is never okay. But one probably wouldn't expect a near 1,000-year sentence for a crime like armed robbery, and that makes sense. But there's more to the story. Apparently, Gregory Aaron Gadlin was not only guilty of multiple robberies, he was also charged with 2 counts of possessing a firearm while being a felon. Besides, he had been convicted thrice already for first-degree robberies, as well as another robbery in which he used a gun. And under California's 3 strikes law, which states that a defendant gets a sentence of 25 years to life if convicted of 3 violent or serious felonies, Gadlin got sentenced to 530 years to life, plus 437 years and 4 months in prison. Altogether, this means Gadlin was sentenced to 967 years in prison. Ignorance is no excuse. Guillermo Ocampo is lost and needs someone to find him. The 33-year-old man admitted to using a 13-year-old girl as a sex slave for many months. The problem is he just doesn't understand what all the fuss is about. He just abused her in all kinds of derogatory manners, including masturbating on her face and forceful sodomy, and kept videos on his phone. So what, right? Well, members of the sane community of planet Earth did not think that using a minor and claiming it was just payment voluntarily provided by the girl for accommodating her in his home was okay. So when Ocampo's case went to court in 2009, the judge decided on a 480-year prison sentence. Later on, Ocampo would try to appeal his convictions, but since his reasons are pretty much baseless, the court ruled that he continue his sentence within the homey walls of Kern Valley State Prison. A low self-esteem won't take you anywhere, they said, except maybe jail. As the story goes, Mark Angelo Santa Anna was trying to prove himself to the Pico Nuevo gang of which he was a member. So he decided that a 3-month spree of shooting, robbing, and pistol whipping people was the best way to go. In the course of his rampage, Santa Anna assaulted 8 different people, only one of whom was a gang member. For his crime, which left 1 victim dead, Santa Anna was sentenced to 243 years in prison. Crime does pay. Extra long jail time. How far can one go for insurance money? Well, for some, the answer to that question is murder. One of such people is Ali F. Almazian, who drowned his 2 autistic sons at the Los Angeles wharf and also tried to kill his ex-wife in order to cash out an insurance payout. It's probably not shocking to hear that Almazian's only regret was that he was caught. Hopefully, 212 years in prison gets him to reconsider his actions. A grand sentence for a grand theft. Colton Simpson is currently serving 126 years in prison for robbery, attempted murder, burglary, and grand theft. Again, this sentence was given under California's 3 strikes law. Before he was finally arrested in 2003 for a jewel robbery in Temecula, California, he had been convicted in the past for attempted murder and robbery. But it seems Simpson has turned his life around, as he authored a book, Inside the Crips, Life Inside LA's Most Notorious Gang, where he detailed his life in the gang. Well, that's it. It's a wrap. Give this video a like if you found it interesting, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it. We'll catch you in the next video.